Kathy. How are you today on this Wellness Wednesday?
I have not talked to you in a million years. It seems like you've been
I
gone.
have been gone. I have been gone.
Yeah,
North
that's all
Carolina.
right though. I love it. So how'd it go out there?
Oh man, it was nice out there. We only worked really Tuesday and Thursday on the food truck, and the other days we just shopped for the stuff and prepped food and things. And it was hot though. I admit the first day because it was like almost 100 degrees outside, and when it's 100 degrees outside, it's 120 or more in that food truck. Uh, so you have to pace yourself, when you're doing
Yeah,
this because you're cooking over a hot stove and things. But it was
stay
really fun.
hydrated.
Yeah, for sure. I was drinking my Soul Stick Revive and stuff, and my electrolytes and my B vitamins and all that stuff, and staying hydrated for sure. And it was just a lot of fun doing it with Jeremiah. It was just serving the food, and it's just fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So did you guys sell out?
I wouldn't say sell out. It's like an event that gets paid for, and the people just like come up and get what they want, kind of.
Oh, what
Um,
I
but
have
we but we
yeah.
do it out of a food truck, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we're kind of like ambassadors in a way, like if that's
So what did you serve? I have to know these things because I'm hungry.
um, not healthy stuff. But anyways, it's not my thing. But um, we did serve tacos with carnitas in it, and I made pico de gallo. And we had cotija cheese and a verde salsa and a regular salsa with it. And
Yay.
then the other thing we had was a brioche bun with brisket, Gruyere cheese, and barbecued sauteed onions on it. It looked good, smelled good. Um, and then the first day we had a third item, which was just basically we did French bread, and it was pimento cheese. I never eat pimento cheese, so I have no idea what that like tastes like. But pimento cheese, we had ham on it, a pickle, and I can't remember what else. But anyways, we grilled it, and then we served it to them. They were grillers. They weren't just sandwiches, but they were grillers, and the tacos and stuff.
Okay, so my mouth is watering. I just want everybody to know.
Yep. And then the second day we just did the brisket griller, and then the street tacos.
Oh, hey. Okay, so I gotta move on.
But
So,
moving on from that though, I did have a good time. We did get to go downtown. Well, it was uptown. It was down there in Charlotte, North
mhm.
Carolina, but it was a good time. We got to ride around on scooters and stuff, and eat lots of vegan and gluten free food that they had. It was great.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know what we do every top of every program that we do is to give your testimony because it's such an amazing testimony. I pray you never get tired of sharing it because we never know who's listening when that person's listening. So, could you
Absolutely.
please give us some of your testimony and why we do Wellness Wednesday?
All right. So I'm a natural health and herb specialist and holistic health coach. And the reason I do this and the reason we do Wellness Wednesday is because, years ago, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. It's an inflammatory bowel disease. It basically got me on my deathbed. I was hospitalized. Doctor said, if I was any older, I would have made it. Lost 30 pounds in 1 month, all kinds of things. They wanted to put me on all kinds of medications, steroids, you name it, ulcerative colitis medication. Even they wanted to talking about chemo and surgery, and I was like, this is not for me. I'm way too young for this. I had two flare ups at 18 and 24 and hospitalized for both. The second one was the worst one. That one was
Yeah.
really hard to recover from. But I met a naturopathic doctor, and she taught me diet, lifestyle, herbs, how to heal your body with nutrition. And I started doing that. I changed my life. I changed my lifestyle. I try to minimize my stress, all kinds of stuff, taking the herbal supplements that really helped out a lot. And I was starting to digest my food. I was starting to feel better.
Mhm.
And, my health it all came back. And, and that's the power of nutrition and herbs. And that's why I do what I do, because I want to show people, that there are really good ways out there, alternative ways to help yourself, and to learn that, food is a form of healthcare. Food is medicine. And
Actually, what it is going back to basics. I mean,
it
it's
is.
going back to how God created us anyway. Medicines were created by men. They were
Right.
not created by God. Although I'm just saying, I mean, they're
Right.
very smart and they good they know what they're doing, but when we go back to herbs, eating right, exercise, drinking, that's how we were created. And
Yeah.
that's actually what your body decided. I mean, it needed to get back to the way God created us,
Yeah.
in order
And
for it to heal itself.
right. We need balance. We need also look at the emotional and mental health. That's why we do things
Mhm.
holistically. We don't just look at food and exercise and
Yeah,
things like that. We look at the emotional and mental health and well
100.
being. Yeah, that's so
You are
important.
so correct. Oh my gosh. Because learning from you and other guests that we've had on the show, and my own personal doctor, Dr. Hollis, that you guys have seen, actually learning from him first, and then you guys reiterating it, that things happen to us physically because of our mental stuff, like grief and pain and fear and depression and things like that. Things happen to our physical bodies when
They
our
sure do.
mental self goes through things. And
Right.
I didn't have any idea until I started shrinking why I was shrinking. Like, what's going on, Doc? It's like,
Yeah,
well, this could have happened, this could have happened, this could have happened. And he named about 10 things, and I was probably 9 of the 10 things that had happened. And that's why I shrunk up inch and a half. I used to be 5'9". I'm 5'7.5".
yep.
That
That's
just
that's the
does not
difference.
sound correct, man.
Yeah,
So yeah, man, I tell you. So your testimony is amazing.
thank
I want
you.
people to know there's a lot of gut issues that people have out there that they can definitely overcome when they eat and drink and do everything correctly. When they bring their body into a holistic state, they can pretty much heal themselves of what needs to be healed from, because they're bringing all that holistic, good old goodness back into their bodies, and that's pretty amazing. So your testimony is absolutely awesome, because so many people are going through gut issues.
Exactly, exactly.
They are.
And gut and mental health. Your gut's like your second brain. There's like a gut brain connection there. So if your gut isn't happy, your brain isn't happy, and vice versa.
We're
Um,
going to come back to that too, because there's something that you said earlier to me personally that was like, what? We need to let the public know that. But before we do, we have got to say hello to our extinguished guest we have today. His name is LaRon Barnes, and we love him so very much.
Hi,
Hello, hi,
Lauren.
hello.
Thank you for being here with us today. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure to be in the presence of you two ladies. I'm telling you, you all have a lot of value and hold a lot of value. So I'm just honored to be in you all's presence.
Oh, we're honored to have you. Trust me. We really are. Knowing how busy you are, knowing that you are a man of God and a man that is on the move. Like you
Yeah.
try have you ever tried to catch a chicken? That's how it is catching up with this guy.
There it
Oh
is.
my
I can
goodness.
see it.
Yep.
I just had the image. That is hilarious.
That is funny.
Oh, yes.
That's funny you put that. I was just thinking of another scenario because my dad used to have chickens and they were really friendly. So they want to follow you where you go. So we didn't really have to catch them. They would want us to be near them. So, we like attracts like, I guess.
I guess, man. So
Busybodies.
yeah. So Mr. LaRon, give us a little bit about your background. Give us a little bit of your testimony and what it is that you do.
Absolutely. Well, I'm actually a motivational speaker and a mindset coach or a business mindset coach. Some people will even call it a life coach. And what I do is I direct people to achieve whatever it is that they desire to achieve in life. I help people to get out of their own mind, to get over fear, anxiety, stress. I help them to look at themselves for who they really are, not for the person that they have believed they have been because of some of the past experiences and some of the things that people have told them, that brought low self-esteem, that brought doubt. And so I help them to see themselves for who they really are, and so that they can walk in their purpose. It all comes down to the mentality. It all comes down to mental health. It all comes down to health, dealing with the gut, as you all talk about, in the mental aspect of it as well. So this is it's all about enjoying life. And what I do is I help put you in position to do that thing by finding your passion and living in it.
So
And
what brought you to this though? Like what were you told when you were a boy? What were you told when you were in school?
yeah, so I was made to believe that I was dumb. I was told that I was ADHD, ADD, and had a learning disability. So for most of my life, I believed that there was something wrong with me. I can remember that my teacher, Miss Smith, called me to the back of the class as all the students had left, and she stood over me and said, "LaRon, you need to be put on Ritalin." And I remember how that made me feel. I remember feeling as if I was inadequate or incapable of learning, as there was something wrong with me. So for most of my life from that point, I wanted to prove to myself that there was nothing wrong with me. I wanted to prove to my own self that I can learn. And so I went on a journey to discover me. I went on, who am I? What am I here for? What is my purpose? And I never wanted anyone to feel the way that I felt. So I then found motivation. I then found that there was something out there that I could do that impart in the minds of people that they are greater than them circumstance, their situation, or what someone else has said about them.
I love it.
Yeah.
Because that takes an inner strength that a lot of people don't have. And for you to be able to look beyond a person of authority, a person that you trusted, to come and tell you that had to been painful.
It did a lot of damage. It traveled with me all the way into my 20s. Like, I mean, in my 20s, I couldn't. I was trying to fight it still. Like, man, why can't I get out of this? I even, at one point, to be honest with you all, and I haven't really told anybody this, but at one point, it bothered me so much that I checked my own self in to the hospital, and went to go see a doctor. And and I never really told nobody that part. And I went to go see a doctor to say, I said, "Doc, there's something wrong with me? Is there?" And he began to ask me all of these questions that put me in the direction of being ADHD. And when he was saying, "Do you have trouble sleeping? Can you when people was talking, are you able to not talk, or do you interrupt them?" And he would ask me all these questions. I'm like, yes, 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 yes. But he said, "You know what? I'm going to send you to another person to get evaluated, because I believe you may be ADHD." But what happened was, I didn't want to accept it. I didn't want to accept a label on me. And so I never went and seen the other individual that he prescribed for me to see. But I said, I'm going to work through this with my own mind and get through this and be able to balance my own self. And I did from there.
That's awesome.
I agree with you. That is,
I love that.
Amazing.
Having the willpower and, the motivation inside, without anybody else motivating you, that takes a lot of strength.
Well, the motivation was to prove people wrong.
Yeah, that was your motivation. But sometimes people need other people to motivate them, and not everybody can find something inside, to fight for.
Yeah, it sounds like you dug really deep and you found yourself.
Yeah.
Which was who we love today, because we don't know you as that person. We know you as LaRon today, and we absolutely love every inch of you.
Thank you.
From head to tail. I mean, to tell you, because you are amazing to us. So I'm so glad that God had helped you learn who you are.
Yeah.
And able to help us, actually. I mean, you've been able to help us. You came into my life because of something that I need you to do personally, and it was done, and I saw success there. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. That's awesome.
He walking the walk.
That's hilarious. Yes.
So we want to touch on something a little bit more serious, though, and that is about this week is Suicide Prevention Week, and we're in Wednesday, and this is Hump Day, you guys. So we're in the middle of the week, and we want to absolutely encourage you guys to know that there are some people out there that are struggling, whether we know it or not, and some people just won't tell you because they think that it's a taboo thing. A lot of people don't know to tell you. Can I just say that? They're dealing with their own demons and they don't know to reach out. They don't know to say, I need help. Or there's ego involved, or whatever the case may be. But we just want you to know that we care about you guys. Let's give a couple of signs of people that might be going through some suicidal thoughts. Some of it could be as early as, I want to say, middle school. Kids start talking and thinking about suicide. They do that because I think, honestly, there's a hormonal imbalance because we're all going through something. So hormonally, we're trying to figure out ourselves, and a lot of stuff comes from depression, and a lot of kids go through depression because of them trying to figure out where they fit in the world, and that starts in middle school, because they're trying to figure it out. So if you see anybody changing the way that they sleep, their sleeping habits,
Mhm.
their grades, if their grades fluctuate from A's to lower than A's, if they're shutting themselves off from the rest of the family, who only gives one word answers, who are shy all of a sudden, just look at personality changes in your adolescent child to make sure that they are okay. Like, you may want to just sit down and do a one-on-one talk to them and see what's going on with them, and but not badger, like doing it out of love, doing it out of, I'm here for you. But be a detective. Talk to people around them. Talk to their friends and their teachers. See how they are away from you. That could be the real big key as well. And then a lot of times, people that are wanting to commit suicide will never tell you. I have to tell you, oh, you guys, I just thought about this. I just thought about this. So my husband was killed when I was 31. He was 33. I was 31. I had two small children. And I absolutely forgot about this until this very second. There was a time where he was a Missouri State Highway Patrolman. So I got his gun, I got I got all his stuff. And one night I was sitting on the edge of my bed and I thought, you know what? If I killed the kids and kill myself, God, I don't care where I go. I know my children are going to go to heaven. I don't want to be on this earth without my husband. Totally forgot about this. So I contemplated killing my children and shooting myself in the head, and just, it would be over. There was no phone call to mama telling her. There was no phone call to sisters telling them. There was no phone calls to brothers telling them. There was no phone call to any person around me. It was just me in that room contemplating ending my life. So what I want to tell you is that people that really want to do it will never reach out. And that's the problem. Now, Crystal said something earlier today about mental issues, dealing with our gut. But if somebody had called me that night, which I never got a phone call, nothing, who knows what would have been a difference?
Yeah.
Who knows what would have been a difference?
You never know.
Think the mental part of that was my depression. I pretty much know that it was. It was just my depression. I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to raise his kids without him. I didn't want to be here. And yeah, that was a dark time in my life. But I got through it that night, through the grace of God. The rest is history.
You. Thank God. Yes, for sure. I'm glad you're still here.
Yeah, that was a pretty rough time. It really was. And nobody would have known anything because, you guys, my family is in St. Louis. So there was no sister, brother, aunt, uncle, mother, father, nobody around me to even check on me.
Right. Yeah.
Totally forgot about that. So we just want you guys to know we love you guys. LaRon, did you have anything to say about suicide?
I mean, I was just thinking about, pay attention to people who've been through traumatic issues in their life, whether they lost a child, whether they have lost a spouse, whether, that even being in the military, traumatic, a lot of seeing traumatic things put things on the minds of other individuals, even though people may not show it externally, they're dealing with it internally. And so that's what really, that's the voice that they're hearing. That's the voice that they're listening to a lot of times, especially if they're not saying it out loud to anybody. And so just making sure that, you're staying in contact with people who have dealt with traumatic issues would be good. And just asking them, how are you feeling on the inside? A lot of times we don't even ask the question, we assume, you know what I mean? And so if we would just ask the question, they probably would release it to you. You know what I mean? They probably would let you know, exactly how they feel. And if they are acting different from how you normally would see them, stay close to them. You know what I mean? Show that you care. Put yourself in their presence. Understand that they're not always going to tell you, so you have to take initiative. Even dealing with your children, with them going to school, there's a lot of bullying and things going on. A lot of times, even as parents, we have to be aware and ask our children. Like, we even asked our daughter, like, is everything good at school? Is anybody bullying you? And there was no signs or anything, but that a lot of time there isn't any signs. And so just showing, showing that you genuinely care, and that you're interested in being, in their information, whatever their life and whatever they're going through. So just showing that you're present, showing that I care enough to be around and ask the question. I think that'd be very good.
And let them know how important they are and how much you love them. I mean,
Yep,
Crystal, what do you
absolutely.
have to say about that?
I always say showing kindness, not that can, stop them from doing something that they're going to be doing, but you never know. Showing kindness every time to somebody. Yeah. And if you think of somebody, call them, tell them you're thinking of them today, or text them, whatever. It's just something. If you like, I think of people all the time. Like there's a few people I think of, different people all the time, like every day. And I will text them. And it's funny, there's sometimes where like one morning I'll be thinking, I remember just my friend who was popping on here a second ago, she messaged me later that day, but earlier that morning I was thinking of her and I was like, man, I was just thinking of you today. And I should have messaged her like in the morning, but she ended up messaging me. So it's just that, that energy like we put out and everything. And, sending, that love and those good vibes to people, I think can always make people feel warm and brighten up their day a little bit. I mean, kindness doesn't hurt. Kindness is free.
Yeah, absolutely. I do remember one time I was at church, and our church, our pastor only tells us to pray for women if you're a woman and pray for men if you're a man. I love that. I think that's amazing, because it doesn't blur the lines, But for some reason, the Lord led me to a man that was sitting away from me, like his face, I was to his back, let's put it that way. So I don't even remember what this man looks like today, but I remember putting my hands on his shoulders and feeling a heat come from me to him. And the prayer was about suicide, but I didn't know. I didn't know. So after I prayed for him, he told me, I felt a heat come from your hands. And I said, I felt that too. And then he said, I was contemplating suicide, and your whole prayer was everything that I was contemplating. Wow. So I know that came from God. If that man were to walk up to me today and talk to me, I would not know him.
Right.
I have no idea who he is, and I pray that it continued, that he was healed from that night. And I believe that heat was a healing from God to him. But yeah, that was and I don't go, when my pastor tells me to do something, I do something, but of course God is God. And so I did what the Lord told me to do that day. And just to let you know, I'm not a rebellious Christian. I do follow my direction of my leadership, but God led me to that guy, and I remember praying with him, and it was amazing. What he said, I had no idea. I don't even know who he is. Right. So the leading of God telling you to do something as well, pray for that person. When you think of somebody, to pray for them. Okay, God, I don't know what they're dealing with today, but Lord, please help them, because we do not know. And the one thing about kindness that Crystal said too is, you guys be kind to everyone. The person behind the counter, the person at the drive-through window, the person that cut you off in the street when you were driving, because we do not know what people are dealing with. We just don't know. We do not know. And so a smile can make a difference. Go ahead, LaRon. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. And I was going to say that, a lot of, so two reasons I say. One reason that people feel suicidal going through it, one is traumatic issues, which I mentioned. The second thing is self-worth, how they feel about themselves. They feel worthless. They don't feel like they're important. They feel useless. They don't feel like they have value nor add value to anything around them. So a lot of times, because of the lack of value, the lack of importance, who cares if I'm here or not? I don't care about myself. I'm not bringing anything to this world that is producing any fruit or producing anything in my life or anybody else's life. And so you have to understand that you do have value. You are valuable. If you are in existence, if God has created you, then you're here with a purpose. You have purpose. God, God has you here not only for your lives, but for the lives of other individuals who touch your lives. So you have to understand that you do have something. You're important. You're special. You know, you are created to add to this world. You are God's creation. So understanding that you are not worthless. I have value. If I was created out of all creation, I am here. I'm not by accident. I didn't get here by
That's
accident.
right.
Or all creation, not just human creation. I'm talking about all creation. But the great thing about it is that you are a human creation, which is the highest creation that God has created was you. And so you got to understand that I am valuable. I have something to offer. I am loved. You know what I mean? And you got to love yourself before anybody else will love you, or to expect anybody else to love you. You got to love yourself and know, you know what? I love me. At the end of the day, I love me. And
That's
I'm going
right.
to be kind to everyone around me. And that's the showing love right there. That's the reason to love yourself, because of what you are producing. Don't allow other individuals to put their thoughts, their negativities, their doubts on you. Never accept those doubts. You hear what I'm saying, guys? Never accept those doubts. You are in charge of what you accept. And if it's not anything that's producing positivity to your life, if it's not anything that's growing you, if it's not anything that's building you, you have the choice not to accept it. I don't care if it's your mother. I don't care if it's your father. I don't care if it's your best friend. I don't care who it is. If they're not speaking life into you, you don't have to accept it. Know that you are loved because God loves you. God put love in you. So you feel the love that God has put in you. And that will allow you to feel the value and how special you really are on this earth. And you won't feel worthless.
Absolutely.
The other important
Man, I
thing,
feel good in my spirit.
yeah, yeah,
Yep.
I love that. Everything you said was correct. In fact, you was taking some words straight out of my brain. Really, because I was
Yes.
thinking you are not here by accident. You are here for a reason. There is a
Right.
purpose in your life. You are loved, whether you feel it or not. There are people out there that love you that don't even know what they would do without you. That's the
Mm-hmm.
thing that hurts me the most. When I hear about suicide, it's like, oh no,
Mm.
what is her mom going to feel? What is his father going to feel? What is his brothers and sisters going to do? What does her mom do? You know, it's just like, oh my gosh, it just hurts. What are their best friends going to feel? And do you know that the survival guilt is so bad? Because everyone feels like, oh, I should have seen something. I should have known something. You know, they feel like they failed you when they probably more than likely didn't. They just didn't know. And so the survival person, the person that survives it, it's years and years and years of trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Crystal said something that was important earlier, and it was about your gut and your emotions. So, can you expound on that? I know that some people that that commit suicide on because they are bipolar or
Okay.
depressed. So let's
Okay.
talk about that in nutrition.
So, like we said earlier, there's a gut brain connection. Your gut is literally like your second brain. And if your gut's not happy, then your brain isn't happy, and vice versa. And, we have good and bad bacteria in our guts, and it controls a lot. It tells everything basically what to do. So, if we have an overgrowth of bacteria, of endotoxins, bad bacteria in our gut, then that's what's controlling our brains. That's what leads to anxiety, depression, and then what happens is our digestive system isn't working right, and then we're not eliminating right. And so if we're not eliminating right and digesting right, then
The
we're
toxins.
actually malnutritioned because we don't have the enzymes we need to absorb all that. And you're right, all the toxins that are building up is making our brain toxic. We have toxic blood, we're going to have a toxic brain. And so what happens is when you're bipolar, literally, and anxiety, most time those people don't have bowel movements as much as they need to. Not even once a day.
Or eating
Sometimes,
correctly.
or they're not eating correctly. They eat foods, that are carbs and sugar. And honestly, sugar is 8 times more addicting than cocaine is. So you have to understand that that's like a drug. And the more sugar you eat, the more sugar you're going to crave. That's just what it is. You cannot stop that. So you have to stop the eating like that too. So it's really hard. You need some help. You need people around you to encourage you, because sometimes we can't just do this alone either. We don't want to eat right. We want our comfort foods when we feel depressed and things. So,
Oh, true.
so it's
That is
just,
so true.
it's a gut brain connection. So once we start cleansing and everything, I will tell you, if I would like, here's the thing. If I'm not having as many bowel movements as I should be, if I am a little bit constipated, I get irritable. Does anybody else get irritable if you're not going like you should be? Maybe you haven't had a bowel movement because it's tense. It's all the stomach muscles, everything's tense, and there's stress. You know, it causes stress to the heart even. It presses on the vagus nerve, all kinds of things. So, you know, I could go on about that, but there's a big gut-brain connection.
No, actually, I don't think people understand how important eating correctly and your mental health like they go together.
They do. They do.
I don't think people really understand how important
Yep.
of that, because who knew? Now, I thought about depression, and I'm gonna tell you why I thought about depression, because so when Crystal and I started this back in February, I was in a deep depression for a lot of reasons. So I ate myself to 285 pounds. And I wanted comfort food.
Right.
So that's why when you said that, it was like, bing. Yeah, you just experienced that. All I wanted was potatoes because it felt good to be that full. And, you know, it was comfort food. And
it creates endorphins, you know, like sugar creates that dopamine, makes you have but it only lasts for so long, and then you get a crash. It only lasts
for so long. And then the after effect of being mad at yourself for gaining that much weight is like, you big dummy, look what you just did to yourself. So it's like a compounding, like it compounds it on each other.
And talking about emotions, when you get irritable and angry and things like that, anger harvests in the liver. And that is the liver and the gallbladder. That's what produces that bile to help you have those bowel movements. And if it's congested and it's not moving that bile, you're not moving your bowels. You're not getting your colon cleaned out. You have toxic blood now, and then now you have a toxic brain.
So that's why it connected to me. But you guys have to hear, there's a chemical reaction going on in your body.
Mm-hmm.
If your emotional is not fixed, your eating habits will not work. The only reason why I switched to flip the switch was because I hated what I saw in the mirror, number one.
That's right.
Number two, I had a purpose, and that was now what me and Crystal are doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what LaRon was saying. You know, when you feel like, okay, God, I'm not supposed to sit here like Jabba the Hutt. It's time to get up and do something, girl. So meet somebody like LaRon and do what Crystal is saying nutritionally and get yourself back in balance.
And speaking of that, you know, your gut and brain anxiety, depression, things like that, we're going to be talking about toxic relationships here. And a lot of times people who are in toxic relationships, sometimes it's mental health issues.
Yeah.
You know, it's not always, you know, just a job or finances, you know, whatever it is, or most of the time people have mental health issues. They're conditioned to, you know, feel a certain way, do certain things. And sometimes we just butt heads, and it just, you know, we have to work on ourselves in order to work on our relationships. And I know LaRon has some good stuff to say about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, go ahead, LaRon, pipe in.
No, I mean, you all are saying some great things. I mean, we all know, you know, my dad used to tell me, he used to say, how did he say? He said, the company you keep determines the trouble you meet, right?
Mm-hmm.
He used to always say that the company you keep, it will determine the trouble you meet. And that's one thing that really stuck with me in my life, is to pay attention to the company that you have around you, because you begin to act like the people that you're around. You begin to make the same amount of money of the people that you're around. You begin to even take on some of the same thoughts of the individuals that you're around. So if the people around you are not moving in the direction that you want to go in, as far as a positive direction, you can get a glimpse of what your life is going to be like. Toxic relationships are relationships when there's people who's not really adding value to you. They're not really pouring into you. They more are drainers, and they tell you why you can't do certain things versus why you can. And if you look at your life right now and you examine the people you have in your life, you will see why you're positioned where you are right now, right? I would say, listen, if you hang around 5 millionaires, you can expect to be the 6'1". But as well, if you hang around, 5 duds, you can expect to be the 6'1". So you have to switch your circle. You have to get in relationships that are building. If you are in a relationship that is draining, what's happening is that a lot of your life, your desires, the things that you want are being put on delay because you're not being propelled. And that's what life is about. It's about advancing. It's about becoming a better you. It's about living in joy. It's about being happy, right? And we can't be happy if we got individuals around us who are draining us spiritually, mentally, emotionally. And so we know if they're draining us because of how we feel when they're around us, how we feel when they're speaking those words into our ears. Think about this right now, our relationship on this right here, on Wellness Wednesday. When people see how we're communicating, they see a lot of energy. They see a lot of excitement. See, this is how we are, come on now, with each other. So you want people around you who are moving in the same direction, who will pour into your life, who will tell you positive things, but they'll correct you. See, I want to say this quick before I stop because I'm getting excited right now, and I don't want to cut anybody.
Don't stop. Keep it coming.
But I want to say that I feel good in my spirit right now. Y'all done got me lit. Nah. But I mean, like, just there's a difference between positive people and negative people, but also people who are willing to correct you because they love you. Don't mistake negative people with people who love you and are correcting you. See, even the Bible says, I gotta say, my favorite book says, the Lord chastises those whom he loves. And so therefore, some people will chastise you, correct you because they love you. So don't think everybody's being negative to you if they're telling you something, trying to help you. But you got to know, if all they're talking about is negative, if they're always talking about why you can't, why you shouldn't, why it may be a bad choice, then what they're actually doing is they're putting their fears, their anxieties, their doubts that they have about themselves and their lives on you.
That's
and
right.
Some of these people may be the people that love you the most, and they're trying to protect you. But listen, if you're locking me in a box, I don't need to be protected. I need to be free. If I was a dog and I'm in a cage, I would rather get out the cage and be free than be locked in a cage, and be let out sometime when I can roam around the house or whatever that may be. So you just want to watch the relationship that you're in, and don't allow anyone to box your mind. If you have a dream, if you have a calling, if you have desires, if you have passions, I'll say go for those things and get around the people who have been there. And the only negative people that's telling you why you can't do it, switch your circle. Get around these ladies.
I love it. I love it.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
and that goes back into inner thoughts and inner feelings and inner, stuff we were talking about earlier about suicide and how things play. I believe with all my heart that people that are suicidal are people that are overthinkers. And what they do is they overthink on the negative and never overthink on the positive. So we need to get out of that cycle of horribleness and get into a cycle of, okay, I am this, I am that. But the thing that I wanted to say too about toxic relationships is get away from them. If it's toxic for you, it's not good for you. So if you're around somebody that is negative all the time, oh man, I hate this, I hate that, I hate this, I hate her, I hate him, I hate my job, I hate my children, I hate my dog. Okay, so what is that doing to you? It's not bringing you up, is it?
That's so low frequency. Your vibrations are so low.
Break it off. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's your mom. I don't care if it's your father. I don't care if it's your mother, brother, sister, cousin, aunt, uncle, boss. I don't care who it is. Politely say, you know what? I got to go. I just got to go. And go do you. Because those people there is a thing called misery loves company. So that miserable person is going to come around you to try to make you miserable because they want to have comfortable. And they want to have just company, somebody that was around them that feels the same way. No, get rid of it. Just, be done with it, because your mental, just like Crystal just said, your mental capacity even diminishes, I believe. Like you get dull in the brain. That's
where boundaries are important.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know that there are relationships that I had. I didn't just leave or anything,
right.
Because, I did care about them and they were important relationships to me because they were possibly family or, things like that. But I started putting up boundaries. And let me tell you, that was the hardest thing because people don't react well to boundaries when you've never put them up. you created a monster, basically allowing people to do things to you and not saying no, or, just communicating is a big thing. If you don't communicate, how is someone supposed to know how you feel? Like, they could stop, making you feel that way. They could be like, oh, I'm sorry, I was making you feel that way. I didn't mean to do that when I was saying this, if they care, or things like that. You can, and if they don't care, then you know what, then you can stop your time there and be like, I'm trying to do this thing. I'm staying narrow focused. This is what path I lead on. I can't sit here and talk about the same thing over again. I love you. I care about you, but I just can't be here mentally with you. I keep moving forward, and you can come with me, but I can't stay here.
So this is a real good test for everybody. So if you're around somebody and when you walk away from that person, you want to go right back to them, or when you walk away from that person, you'd be like, man, I can last a couple of weeks without talking to them again.
Yeah.
Think about that. It's like, oh my God, please don't call me. Or when you look at your phone and you see Kathy Webster and you're like, let it go to voicemail. Or when you see Kathy Webster, you're like, I gotta talk to my girl, see what's going on. That's the difference.
I want to hit this last, if that's fine.
Sure.
I just this last piece of information out that I think will, is very valuable, is just be attentive on who you give your ear to, right? So there may be situations where you have to work with that individual because you have to work on a project, or you work it in a space where things have to get done, right? And this individual is in that circle, the inner circle. Pay attention on what you give your ear to. Pay attention to where you allow to receive. A lot of times you have, Les Brown said this, and this stuck with him. He said, you got to stand guard at the door of your mind. Don't allow any and everything to get in there. Even if you are in the vicinity of having to hear the stuff, you got to stand guard at the door of your mind. And so you can determine what comes in this thing. What am I going to allow to affect my emotions that's going to get me to react and respond, right? One thing that I always say, if somebody is able to make you to react and respond externally, right? What it is they ultimately have control over you, because they determine how you act. They are determining how you move. So they got control of you. Don't get those individuals control on you. So be very attentive and very aware of what people are speaking into your ear, and then block some of that out.
Yeah. That's a good word. That's a real good word.
I think also, when you take care of yourself and you're working on yourself and your mental and everything, you're raising your vibrations, you're raising your frequency, you're getting to your higher self, basically. And when you start doing that, when you start raising those vibrations, when you start raising your frequency, people who are not, when they're not in the same frequency as you,
they fall away.
They fall away. You don't have to deal with all of that, thinking that, oh, what am I going to do if this happens? How am I going to tell her I can't, or him, I can't, be around him or whatever. Well, you don't have to. You can always, there's always going to be a point in time probably where, you say your goodbyes and things. But other than that, you raise, like I said, you raise your frequency. I've changed so much. Even the last month, even, I'm not the same person that I was, right? The last 5 years, the last year, I'm not the same person. And each step of growth I take, each time I raise my frequency, I notice that new people come into my life, and the old people that weren't meant to be there, they're just they're not here. They're not around. They don't contact me anymore. And that's okay. We don't have anything, I don't have anything against them. They don't have anything against me. It's just that we kind of grew out of each other. We're not the same people anymore. And that's okay. Newer, better people are here. They're going to come into your life. People are going to come here for a reason. Just let things flow. Go with the now. Follow your gut intuition. Don't let other people persuade you to do things. Just do what you feel is right inside. You know what's right for you.
I love that. That is true too. It proves to be true. Can you put the prevention, the suicide prevention number back up, just so people can have it? And maybe call that number and ask for more signs and things for people to know. I'm so glad that Crystal made me aware that this is Suicide Prevention Week. It's very important, you guys. I watched a special on Netflix. It was called The Kid 90,
Mm.
and 10 or 11 of her friends had committed suicide.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So I didn't even know that this was, that special's been out there, and I'm like, let me see what this is about. I remember the 90s. I did not expect for that to be the, reason 10 or 11 of her friends committed suicide.
Mm.
So I want you guys to know it's real and it's happening, but we love you, just like LaRon said, just like Crystal said, we love you guys. You are important. You have a purpose. Please stay around for your family, for your friends, and get that help that you need. So call this number, and then know that you can always reach out to one of us, because we're going to help you nutritionally and holistically to get your body back in balance. Try to say that 20 times.
That's a tongue twister right there.
That is a tongue twister. So please contact us at 816-301-4288, because we would love to speak to you. We really would. That's what our whole purpose is. If you want to get in touch with LaRon, we will definitely get you in touch with him. He is an amazing man. He's a wonderful father. He is an amazing guy. So all my talk, you see how he is. Look at that smile. You can't not love that smile. All right, you guys. Thank you for joining us today. Remember that health is wealth. And if you are green inside, you are clean
inside. For sure. For sure.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, LaRon, for joining us.
You for Vibe of the Day on Friday. But thank you, LaRon.
Thank you, everybody. Yes. Thank you, LaRon. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We appreciate you, and happy Wellness Wednesday.